Williams handled the collapse of his 20-year marriage by reaching out for what he knew best, the Australian bush. He left behind the society life of Adelaide and after some searching, settled in central Queensland, on the upper Auburn River near Eidsvold. In going back to the bush, what did that tell you? What did you learn from doing that?
I took on a place which had been abandoned, where the cattle were wild and the fences were down, and there was no great house there. So I had to bring the cattle into line, and I had to make a living out of it because I wasn't drawing on the business in Adelaide. And the fences all had to be rebuilt. So that took me 20 years. So, and I enjoyed the challenge of that.
It was the hard physical struggle with the Rocky Bar property that rejuvenated Red Williams. On a trip to Adelaide, where he continued to oversee the output of his R.M. Williams factory, Reg met Erica, a skilled horsewoman, and they married in 1955. Rocky Bar became the physical and emotional base for Reg Williams. He and Erica had 3 children here. And it's at Rocky Bar that all the Williams children now gather from time to time. You said your greatest achievement was your children. What did you mean by that?
Well, all of the children, my children, and I have 9 living still, have all become cultured people, and they're trustworthy, and I can quite safely say that I'm quite proud of them. So I think that's probably my greatest achievement. But then again, I suppose I shouldn't take the credit because I guess other people have had influence on them as well. But still, I have tried to advise them to walk with some rectitude.
Do you see yourself in any of them?
Sorry?
Do you see yourself?
Unfortunately. No.
This is your saddle, is it? I'll put it on for you.
From the security of Rocky Bar, Reg Williams leapt back into the business world, buying cattle properties for his children, designing new R.M. Williams products, even trying to set up a tea plantation in the highlands of New Guinea.
There was a place called Ayura that had an old tea tree, and a fellow called Orb Schindler, he was the head of this experimental place, and he told us that we could propagate the leaves of the tea into bushes, which we did. We've developed a few million plants of teas, and we had tea ready to sell commercially. And it didn't work very well because there were all kinds of restrictions, and we didn't have a road there is a road now from into the highlands, but at that time there was no road where we were, and so I just simply walked out of it. It was not successful money-wise, and I was pouring a lot of money into it. But we stayed there a few years, enough to develop a tea plantation.
So you didn't get the support you needed from the Australian government?
Well, I don't think the Australian government ever really intended to stay in New Guinea. For what reason I wouldn't know, but it was quite obvious that there was no support, because if we'd had a road to our country, we probably would have developed in coffee and tea.
didn't see eye to eye with Menzies over his government's New Guinea policies. And he disagreed with Menzies over his approach to monetary policy too.
Menzies came to the hustings to a small place called Northfield, and I was sitting at the back of the hall with a fellow called Pascoe, Frank Pascoe, who was working with me at the time. And Frank was pretty knowledgeable. And after Menzies had finished dealing with all the people who were shouting and yelling at him, he asked for anybody else that had anything to say, and Pascoe suggested to Menzies that he would like to know whether he would keep the value in the pound like Chifley had done. And I can never forget seeing Menzies coming to the front of he's a big man, and he came to the front of the hall, and he stood on the platform and he said, "Yes, my boy, I will keep value in the pound." And one of the people that was near me was a reporter, and he printed in the Adelaide News a big headline, "Menzies will keep value in the pound."
As we recover from the inflationary pressures, so will all these policies be diminished. They're not put on forever. They're not put on for fun. They're put on for a purpose, and as the purpose is achieved, so they become no longer necessary.
When he came back to the same hall 3 years later, the pound had dropped in value by at least, I suppose, 50%. And so, and also it had been very important to me because I'd lost a lot of money because I'd kept my prices the same and didn't have enough brains to realise that I was selling things for less than they'd cost to make. So I was very nearly bankrupt. So I held this news people thing up in front of Menzies, and it said, "Mr. Menzies, you lied to us." And he was a very big man. He was sitting at the back, and he got up very ponderously and he walked to the front of the edge of the platform, and he bowed his big old head, and then he lifted up and he said, "Yes, my boy, for various reasons of political expediency, I did let the value go, lose value." Then he stopped. Then he lifted his big old head and he smiled and he said, "But yes, my boy, but I gave you more of them, didn't I?"